Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Across Africa, our weekly look at stories from across the continent with me, Georja Calvin-Smith. This week, hundreds are reported to have been killed in the RSF paramilitary seizure of the Darfuri city of El Fasher. Reports mount of the brutal treatment of civilians caught in the middle of the battle with the Sudanese army and the paramilitary in a bid to seize the regional capital of North Darfur. Also, the household help sector in South Africa is in a mess. Domestic work's a lifeline to many, but about 400,000 jobs have been estimated to have disappeared in the field over the last 5 years amidst an economic slowdown. And Africa's history is mankind's history, and new chapters to this endless story have just been added. African scholars are instrumental in expanding and updating the scope of a monumental book, first released by UNESCO in 1964, that explores the continent's global perspective from thousands of years ago to the present day. But first, the WHO said that at least 460 people were killed in the RSF paramilitary seizure of the Darfuri city of El Fasher. Reports mounted of the brutal treatment of civilians caught in the middle of the battle with the army for control of the regional capital. War broke out across Sudan in 2023. It's caused the world's worst humanitarian crisis and threatens to split the nation in two, with the RSF controlling most of western Sudan and the army holding the north, east and centre. Civilians have borne the brunt of the violence.
Accused of committing mass atrocities in El Fasher, the commander of Sudan's Rapid Support Forces acknowledged abuses had taken place and said he launched a probe into the allegations.
Violations have taken place in El Fasher. The committee will immediately start to investigate and hold accountable any soldier or officer who committed a crime or abused their position against any person.
The announcement came amid growing reports of mass killings and atrocities by RSF fighters following the city's capture. Witnesses describe harrowing scenes of soldiers going from house to house, indiscriminately beating and shooting people, while others told stories of ethnically motivated killings and rape. On Wednesday, the UN said over 450 people were killed inside the city's Saudi hospital after RSF fighters opened fire on doctors and patients alike. The international body called on the paramilitary group to immediately put an end to the violence and protect civilian populations.
We can't stress enough that civilians, humanitarian workers, medical personnel must always be protected. And once again, we call on the parties to halt hostilities, guarantee the safe passage for civilians and aid workers, and ensure sustained humanitarian access wherever it is needed.
Tens of thousands of people have fled El Fasher in recent days and have begun to pile up in already overcrowded camps. But over 170,000 others are thought to remain trapped in the North Darfur city.
A group of South Africans reportedly led a daring breakout by human trafficking victims from a compound in Myanmar, one that was notorious for cybercrime. Now, the escapees were lured to Thailand by false job promises before being forcibly taken to the compound. Tom Canetti tells us more.
It's believed there are about 1,000 victims of human trafficking who escaped this compound in Myanmar near the border with Thailand. And it all began when 4 South African men led this secret prayer gathering, and during that gathering they overpowered armed guards, breached the gates of the compound and sparked this mass escape. The South African government has confirmed that 41 of its nationals were in the compound and 39 of them are being treated urgently by Thai authorities. Basically, these people were lured via social media, via these false promises of legitimate work, accommodation, and salaries. And once they arrived in Thailand, they were forcibly taken against their will to this compound known as the KK Park, which is notorious for human trafficking and cybercrime. And back in March, the South African government actually rescued about 24 of its citizens from this exact same compound. And they told local media in South Africa and the government that if they refused to take part in the scams, they were tortured and beaten, and they were usually working 16-hour days. The South African government has confirmed that these latest victims will be repatriated in early November.
Well, back in 1964 experts from around the world, including many from the African continent itself, came together to make more of mankind's story accessible to more people. And they created the General History of Africa. This centering of the African perspective was put together by UNESCO, and much has changed since the last installments. More chapters were recently added to expand the scope of the collection. And I spoke to Lydia Brito, the Assistant Director General for Natural Science at UNESCO. She's Mozambican, and I asked her whether for her the work had personal as well as academic significance.
This project, from the beginning, but more now in this second phase, is fundamentally about restoring representation and dignity. For too long, African history were told from external perspectives, often fragmented and distorted. The General History of Africa is really trying to bring together that sense of unity and really, in a way, to reflect the continent's rich heritage, allowing Africans worldwide to see themselves as active contributors to global civilization. For every African, whether in the continent or in the diaspora, this work provides a sense of pride and belonging. It highlights the depth and the diversity of African cultures, emphasizing their central role in shaping world history. And as a Mozambican, Mozambique has a very rich culture and a long history, and the history that goes from bringing the communities together, but also fighting colonialism. And until today, we are doing so. So these new volumes, in a way, allow us to be even more engaged in that fight of restoring who we are, where we come from, with all our full history, and from there gain the space that we need to contribute to a better humanity. Because more than ever, all of us need to contribute to a better humanity. And as an African in diaspora now, I really want that space. And I think ultimately, this work, what it does really, it's really making us as individuals, as collectivity, to really have this consciousness that we have a lot to contribute.
Lydia Brito there. Now, the household help sector in South Africa is unfortunately in a mess. Domestic work is a lifeline to so many, but an estimated 400,000 jobs have disappeared in the field over the last 5 years amidst an economic slowdown. Those who are laid off are often unaware of their rights and where to turn to find help. Tom Canetti met up with one woman in Cape Town trying to come to terms with having been dropped by her employers.
Nikiwe is a single mother of 3 children. The only breadwinner in her small Khayelitsha home, she relied on her job as a domestic worker. So when she was let go in April, she lost everything.
Now I just go to the loan shark, to the loans. I don't know. I just go to the loans. But now as a result, there's no one now who's willing to give me the money because I don't know if way I'm going to pay it. I'm struggling a lot. Like sometimes I feel like crying, sometimes I feel like I don't know what must I do even about my life, but I'm thinking about my kids.
Domestic workers are often paid in cash without job security. The Domestic Workers Union in Cape Town educates workers of their rights and has offered Nikiwe help at a time when the entire industry is suffering.
How are you? Thank you, and you? I'm fine, thank you. Okay.
The union learns that Nikiwe's employer didn't register her as a worker.
I'm struggling. It's bad even at home. Sometimes we can sleep without food, just drinking water.
If you are retrenched by the employer, you need to have a retrenchment package where you get your severance pay, your notice, and your holiday money.
A recent poll by an online platform found that 400,000 domestic workers lost their job during the last 5 years, caused by South Africa's stagnant economy and the increase of remote working post-COVID.
Domestic work is a very elastic product, so when households are under pressure, that's one of the first areas that they cut. So it's a form of the economic conditions and consumer pressure, and then coupled with that, post-COVID, a lot of families have the option to work from home. There's hybrid work policies, so instead of getting a domestic worker in to do the laundry while you're at work, now people are putting like a bundle of laundry in while they work.
The survey found that 82% of domestic workers are the main breadwinners of their homes, and 40% of them are paid under the minimum wage.
Well, in under a year, fish stocks in Lake Victoria have dropped by over a third. It's a major worry for the nearly 40 million people who rely on Africa's largest lake. Water pollution is thought to be blamed for much of the die-off. Fasher tells us more.
Didi hauls a cage of farmed fish up to the surface. One night was all it took for his family business to collapse.
So as you can see, all these cages are empty.
Out of the 120 cages here, 23 have lost every single fish. Each one represents roughly 5,000 euros in losses.
It happened way back in 2023, but it was not this huge. But this time, it killed our morale, and at some point we, anticipated even, quitting and taking back to the lakeshore.
Due to the lake's natural currents, oxygen-poor water rises to the surface, leaving less oxygen for fish. And pollution from both household and industrial waste is making the situation even worse.
If it comes, it normally depletes oxygen that is within that area. The aftermath is fish kills, definitely. Maybe the fish in the wild, they can run away, but the fish in the cages, they must die.
At the mouth of the Kibos River, oxygen levels are twice as low as they should be, making it one of the most affected areas.
The water color is darkish brown right now, and the stench emanating from it is pungent. If pollutants are allowed to continue polluting the lake, then definitely many people's health will be affected.
That's especially true in Kisumu, where half of all households use lake water every day. Laws exist to protect the lake, but enforcing them remains the real challenge.
Well, that's it for Across Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.